Hey YouTube, Tweak here, bringing you all an update to my Spacian Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for post-Battles of Legend Crystal Revenge. We got the new EN Shuffle in the latest Yu-Gi-Oh! Special Edition booster set, giving us more consistency for the Elemental Hero decks and the Spacian decks as a whole, being able to give you more draw power, set up with all of the different monsters that we run in the deck. And I wanted to focus on a Spacian deck that also has the Rainbow Dragon support, the Yubel support, while being able to go into all of the new monsters we also got from the Power of the Elements booster set. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck for the Elemental Hero monsters. I am running 2 copies of Elemental Hero Neos. You only really need 2 copies of Neos just because it provides easy setup with some of the other cards that we run in the deck, being able to get this card out and then also shuffle it back for some of our contact fusions. Neos is required for a good majority of the different fusions, but like I said, being able to shuffle it back and then have other cards to easily set it up for many of our fusion plays really just makes it a 2-of, whether you get it out with your Neos Fusion for that summon, or even just send it to the graveyard for the setup of link plays with our Neo Space connector. You have all available, and that's why you only really need 2 copies of Neos. For the Spacian monsters, I run 1 copy of Dark Panther, 1 Flare Scarab, 1 Air Hummingbird, 1 Aqua Dolphin, and 1 Grand Mole. Now, I don't run Glow Moss just because I'm not a huge fan of his playstyle setup. If you were to replace Glow Moss, you could always take out one of the other Spacian monsters. I know that Hummingbird is a little more difficult to summon out the Air Neos. So if you don't have Air Neos, you can always replace Air Hummingbird with the Glow Moss. And then you would just have to replace the other cards in the extra deck that we use for Air Hummingbird and Air Neos as well. But very simple to do as well. But like I said, you just need one of each of the Spacians. They all contribute to many different plays in the extra deck. But just like Neos, they work with the contact fusion, so they shuffle back when you use them. And I also run 3 copies of Neospace Connector. When it's normal summon, you can special summon 1 Spacian monster or 1 Elemental Hero Neos from your hand or deck in defense position. You can tribute this card, then target 1 Spacian monster or 1 Elemental Hero Neos in your graveyard, special summon it in defense. You can only use each effect of Neospace Connector once per turn. So this is the setup I spoke of before. Being able just to special summon out a Neospacian or Elemental Hero Neos to the field gives you your play with just 1 card for the contact fusion if the other card is in your graveyard, which other cards in the deck, like your EN Engaged Neospace, can set up those cards in the graveyard for you to use along with your Neospace Connector. I also run 3 Crosskeeper. This is, I would say, an evolved form of Crossporter, which also helped with draw initially, but this one definitely is much more consistent. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to special summon 1 Elemental Hero monster or 1 Neospacian from your hand or graveyard, but negate its effects if summoned from the graveyard. If you special summon Elemental Hero Fusion monster while this card's in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can banish this card, draw 2 cards, then place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. So draw power and also just more setup for your monsters on the field for you to have with your contact fusion. That's why you can rely on Crosskeeper to be able to give you your monsters on the field, but still make up for some of the draw power, because with your contact fusion, it definitely is a more difficult investment since you're getting rid of 2 monsters, and then you potentially have a monster on the field that will be shuffled back as well. And I also run 1 Elemental Hero Spirit of Neos and 2 Honest Neos. Now these are, you can move them around and change the numbers how you want. You could run 2 Spirit of Neos and 1 Honest Neos. It's just player preference with these cards. With your Spirit of Neos, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. If you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle. If this card is special summoned, you can add from your deck to your hand 1 Polymerization or 1 Spell Trap that mentions Elemental Hero monster, a card name, and during your main phase, you can shuffle this card into the deck to special summon 1 Elemental Hero normal monster from your deck. So it's good defensive power, but also being able to get Neos onto the field makes it another card that can just summon this card out on the field for you to use. Honest Neos is great for just the finishing play, having to give 1 of your Elemental Hero monsters 2,500 attack by sending it from your hand, by discarding it, and then that monster will gain that 2,500, hitting for a bigger number against your opponent. If you wanted to run 2 Spirit of Neos, you can always just drop the number of Honest Neos down to 1 and put in a second copy of that card. And then for some of the one-ofs, I also run the one Rainbow Dragon. Now this is just to send with the Neos Fusion, so we can get cards out like Rainbow Neos from the extra deck onto the field. The one Yubel, and then also the one Neos Wiseman to summon off of the Yubel. With the Yubel play, we go for the summon of our elemental hero Neos Kluger. So with that, we can use Yubel to send off of cards like Neos Fusion to summon out that card, and then Neos Kluger can summon out Neos Wiseman the proper method through its own fusion summon card effect. And then the last of the main deck monsters that we run are just two Keeper of Dragon Magic. When it's normal or special summon, you can discard one card, add one Polymerization normal spell, or one Fusion normal spell from your deck to your hand, and you can reveal one Fusion monster in your extra deck and special summon one of the Fusion materials whose name is specifically listed on that monster from your graveyard in face-down defense position. You can only use each effect of Keeper of Dragon Magic once per turn, and you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Fusion monsters the turn you activate this card. So it's a searcher for any of the Fusion cards we use in the deck. It doesn't really restrict us because we're only running Fusion in the extra deck, but still that's set up from the graveyard, and the search is the main reason we use it because the discard that we send to the graveyard could be the card we summon back onto the field with this card also. That is it for the main monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. Almost said the entire main deck in total, but we still got spells and traps to go over. For the new card from Crystal Revenge, we are running two copies of EN Shuffle. You shuffle one elemental hero or Neo-Spacian monster you control into the deck and special summon one elemental hero or Neo-Spacian monster with a different name from your deck. And you can banish this card from your graveyard to shuffle from your graveyard into the deck either one elemental hero monster and one Neo-Spacian or one elemental heroes, then draw one card. You can only use each effect of EN Shuffle once per turn. This is the shuffle back power that gives you draw, but also being able to shuffle back another card for a particular elemental hero or Neo-Spacian monster we need on the field can help us with consistency for our contact fusions. If we have the Neo-Spacians on the field, but we're missing the Neos, EN Shuffle can help from that, and then also from the graveyard for a banish to give us a draw by putting back other cards that we may have invested in already with cards like Neos Fusion to go back into the deck for us to reuse again. I also run two copies of Instant Contact. You pay 1,000 life points to special summon one level 7 or lower elemental hero or Neo-Spacian monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. And while elemental hero Neos is neither on your field nor in your graveyard, the summoned monster cannot attack. Its effects are negated. Also returns to the extra deck during the end phase. You can only activate one Instant Contact per turn. So the Instant Contact is meant to summon out cards like our elemental hero Flame Wingman, so we can go into some of our other boss monsters like elemental hero Shining Neos Wingman, and also for us to summon out our Neo-Spacian Marine Dolphin to then fuse into elemental hero Marine Neos. This card being able just to get out that fusion monster of any particular one that we need is a good tool because then we have both of the targets available for this card to then get out the bigger boss monsters because of it. For some of the bigger spell numbers, I also run the 3 Neos Fusion. I would say this is one of the best fusion cards in the deck because all you have to do is send by special summoning one fusion monster from your extra deck that lists exactly 2 monsters as material, including elemental hero Neos, by sending the monster names from the hand, deck, or field, ignoring the summoning conditions. And for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters. If a fusion monster you control that lists elemental hero Neos as material would be destroyed by battle or card effect, or shuffled into the extra deck, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So either you can protect your monster on the field by an opponent's card, or if they were to be shuffled back by their own Neos effect, you can keep them on the field by banishing the Neos Fusion. You can be able to send a good majority of your Neo-Spacians to get this card out, being able to summon out any of the contact fusions, meeting the requirements of just the 2 monsters with these cards, and then, like I said, being able to summon out any of those monsters by sending the other requirements. Cards like elemental hero Brave Neos can easily be brought out, just needing a level 4 lower effect monster, and then this card can add one spell or trap that specifically lists elemental hero Neos in its text. We can use that to search out either another Neos Fusion or any of the other spells also that have Neos in its name. I also run 2 EN Engage Neospace. You send one Neo-Spacian monster and one elemental hero monster, one from your hand and one from your deck to the graveyard, to special summon one Neo-Spacian or one level 5 or higher elemental hero monster from your deck. And if you do, add one Polymerization from your deck or graveyard to your hand. If you special summon elemental hero Neos, by this effect, it gains 1,000 attack. You cannot special summon from the extra deck except fusion monsters the turn you activate this card, and you can only activate one EN Engage Neospace per turn. More of the setup for the contact fusion, also being able to power up Neos on the field can put it at 3,500 attack to make it more of a bigger boss monster to swing into your opponent's cards with. Adding the polymerization also sets up our plays for us to go into Shining Neos Wingman, and also for the fact that we need polymerization for the setup of that card to use for the fusion summon. We also can go into some other options like our Brave Neos with the polymerization play. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Neos fusion, but it's good to rely on that search power. I also run 2 copies of Miracle Contact. You shuffle into the deck from your hand, field, or graveyard the fusion materials that are listed on an Elemental Hero fusion monster that has Elemental Hero Neos as fusion material, and special summon that monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning condition. So it's more of an easier way to contact fuse, being able to use resources from the hand and graveyard along with the field. So if we set up those cards with any of the other spells or monsters we mentioned, we can summon them out thanks to Miracle Contact. And I also run the 1 EN Wave. If your Elemental Hero monster is used as material for a fusion summon and sent to the graveyard, or banished except during the damage step, you can special summon 1 Spacian or Elemental Hero Neos from your deck. And if a Spacian monster or Elemental Hero Neos you control in your graveyard is shuffled into the deck or extra deck, you can special summon 1 Elemental Hero monster from your graveyard. This gives you cards back onto the field, making it so you at least have consistency with the cards you invested with on the field. And I also run the 1 polymerization, searchable with the Engage Neospace, the 1 Miracle Fusion, always good for the banish again to go into some of our other extra deck monsters, 1 Monster Reborn, and also 1 Reinforcements of the Army and 1 Call by the Grave. The Reinforcements of the Army normally can either search out the Crosskeeper or the Neospace Connector, or even our warrior option like Aqua Dolphin to our hands. And then as for the traps, I run 1 next, just for the special summon and option to activate this card from our hand, and the 1 favorite contact for being able to special summon a fusion monster from your extra deck that mentions a hero monster's material, ignoring its summoning conditions, by placing the fusion materials mentioned on it on the bottom of the deck in any order. So more of a fusion play to be able to activate during your opponent's turn as well. I just feel you need 1-ofs for each of these though. It's really all you need for those plays, especially for the fact that they can be searched out with other cards like our Elemental Hero Brave Neos. That is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. For the Elemental Hero Neos Contact Fusion cards, I run 1 Elemental Hero Dark Neos, 1 Grand Neos, 1 Flare Neos, 1 Aqua Neos, and the 1 Elemental Hero Air Neos. Now, I run the 1-ofs for each of these. They're all usable with the Neos Fusion that can be sent, since it's just 2 cards needed for each one of these cards. Now, I know Air Neos is a little more difficult to come by, so if you don't have the Air Neos, you can always put in the Glow Neos, and to do that, you would remove the Air Hummingbird from the main deck for a Glow Neos spot as well. It really doesn't disrupt any of the other fusions that we run in the extra deck, since Air Hummingbird isn't used for anything else. It's just this 1 spot. So like I said, if you don't have Air Neos, you could just put in the Elemental Hero Glow Neos for this spot. I also run the 2 Elemental Hero Brave Neos. It can be fusion summoned with Neos Fusion or polymerization, just needing a level 4 or lower effect monster in Neos. It must be fusion summoned, gaining 100 attack for each Neospacian and hero monster in your graveyard. And when it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can add 1 spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists Elemental Hero Neos in its text. So any of the good majority of the spells we run can be searched thanks to Brave Neos, and then just reused again the following turn or set up on the field afterwards. I also run the 1 Neos Kluger for being able to special summon out the Neos Wiseman that I spoke of before, and also just the Yubel Send target, the 1 Shining Neos Wingman, needing the 1 Wingman Fusion monster, and the 1 Elemental Hero Neos. Nebula Neos and also Magma Neos are the 2 contact fusions that require 2 monsters, but being able to use Grand Mole, Flare Scarab, and also Dark Panther for the majority of both of them. I run each copy of those cards, so even if you change around the Air Neos, it won't interfere with any of the cards you use for these 2 fusions. And also I run the 1 Rainbow Neos for the Rainbow Dragon, Marine Dolphin, along with the Marine Neos play that you'll use with both of those, and the Instant Contact, and the Flame Wingman to go into the Shining Neos Wingman with the use of Instant Contact. As for some of the go-to plays in the deck, the setup is mostly the same as the last combo setup. Depending on what you have in your hand, just being able to have a card like your Keeper of Dragon Magic if you summon out this card and you go for the discard with this card as well. Depending on what you discard, you could potentially go for a bigger play. Being able to have that discard can set up other cards for you to use as well. But just say you have one random Spacian that you discard to your graveyard, you can then search out the needed card for your fusion play. Don't forget, if you use cards like Neos Fusion, it will lock you out to any other summons for the rest of the turn for that play after you use it for the rest of the turn after it resolves. So you could use Keeper of Dragon Magic with this card to then special summon that play from your graveyard, revealing a fusion monster in your extra deck and special summoning one of the fusion materials whose name is specifically listed on it from your graveyard in face down defense position. So you could reveal that Neos Fusion monster in your extra deck and special summon whatever you discarded back onto the field as an additional resource. The big thing though is you will have to use 2 monsters specifically with Neos Fusion, so you will still activate this card, and with it you at least will have the potential other card on the field to use for a bigger contact play afterwards, but you'll still send the 2 cards needed for the contact fusion from your main deck to the graveyard, summoning out that needed hero monster. You can either go into Aqua Neos if you were to do that, or like I said, any of the Spacians can give you access to your Brave Neos on the field. And then if you have cards like the EN Shuffle in your hand, being able to shuffle one elemental hero or Spacian monster you control into the deck, and if you do special summon a different one, can give you that option with your monster that you set face down thanks to Keeper of Dragon Magic to shuffle it back into the deck and get you a different one that you may need for an upcoming play onto the field, and then having the other ones from Neos Fusion to be able to shuffle back into the deck by banishing EN Shuffle for an additional draw. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. Like I said, I always love updating the Spacian deck. We get so much more support that I like to keep it up to date with every bit of support we get, and with Crystal Revenge, it definitely was no exception. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.